water quality issue will be very dominant during the next term.
Mr. Fisher.
Thank you. If you look at the legislative progress report from Senator LaValle, he set it out. There's nothing on here about economic empowerment and building businesses. That's something in my background, something I would attack. It's not one of Mr. LaValle's skills, and I believe it's one of the biggest issues of the day. I would have a lot more oversight and enforcement of bad actors in government. I'd encourage state prosecution, state investigation, not wait for the feds and Preet Bharara to come in and pick them off one at a time. It's not fixing the problem. And I'm kind of a New Deal Democrat. I believe in long-term, serious, inspirational projects. John Kennedy committed us to go to the moon. Franklin Roosevelt built a lot of infrastructure. On my card, I talk about Cross Sound Tunnel. I talk about double-decking the LIE. Certainly, that's just a couple of things, but we need a lot for kids to look forward to, that we're actually doing something to improve Long Island. Opioids, mental health, dropoutism, leaving the state, those are all symptoms. Those are not the problems. We have to really attack the problems. We have to stop making elections this cult of personality, who you like, who you don't like. You really have to see who's going to be a leader, who's going to be a hero, who's going to dig things out by the roots, the problems, who's going to plant the right seeds for the future. Right now, it's all this star stuff, you know, it's a celebrity apprentice or something like that. But we don't say, what is your real plan? What are you really going to do? What are your skills to bring it forward? So when I look at Senator LaValle being on the Higher Ed Committee, I did some math, and I said, okay, Buffalo billions. That fell through his fingers. And what's it cost to get a student through Buffalo? Well, $4.2 billion divided by the students is $138,000 a year.
That's incorrect, by the way.
You could go look on Wiki. So you look at the total amount of money, it comes out to that. You multiply by the graduation rate, which is 45% in 4 years and 62% in 5 years, and you get $1 million a kid. So, you know, you could crunch the numbers for yourself. But we have a very, very expensive system running out of control. We have to figure out what to do that's going to be smarter and better, more cost effective. What's going to get us through the long run?
Okay. Did you want to use?
Yeah, you did.
No. Okay.
I
You have a
actually
chance to
forgot.
rebut.
Oh, I get 3, so we're at the, this is,
You got mine.
I actually, because Mr. Fisher's been saying that, and I knew it was wrong, and I asked staff to give me those numbers, and their Stony Brook is 2.3 billion, and Buffalo is 1.3 billion. So I don't know where you got your numbers. I think that the 4.3 is for the entire system. So I was going to give you the paper tonight, so you wouldn't, because I
Well,
know,
it can't be for the entire system because you just gave me 2 schools that come to about that total,
but it's not.
Okay.
even by your numbers. But that does include the endowment. I'm looking at total cost. Total cost per student
Well-
is 130. It's lower for Stony Brook.
I'll give you the paper, and
I'm
then you
glad to
can
read it.
you could then
Okay.
do what you want with it.
We'll have it come out in a press release or on Twitter.
There you go.
Okay.
Instagram.
Does Instagram really have words on it? No. Mr. Fisher, would you like to ask Senator LaValle a question?
Yeah. So my journey with Senator LaValle started a very long time ago. It started pretty much 2003, around there. So we were filming a movie, a documentary movie in at the state office building when we were doing lobbying on an issue called equal parenting, which means we would change a presumption in law. One of the presumptions in New York state law is if a judge has to get involved, he can only award children to one parent or the other. Parents can stipulate to equality, but the award be one way or the other, and it's a winner take all, and there's all kinds of consequences, especially bad ones for the kid. So I went to lobby, and I got a record number of sponsors and co-sponsors, like 63. But when I went to Senator LaValle, he was completely and utterly opposed to the presumption of equality in the courts, that both parents, partners now, since we have gay marriage.
Sorry, do
would
you have a question?
Yeah, the question is, has Mr. LaValle changed his position at all on equal parenting? It's been a long time.
Well, I think equal parenting, but the courts and the judges are in the best position to make that decision based on the evidence. And so, no, I haven't changed my opinion. And I would say that, not that it makes it right or wrong, but your position is a minority position on this issue.
Okay. A red card.
It's actually not a minority position. We have presumptions in law for everything. We have presumptions for speed limits. If you have an emergency, you can go flying through a school zone to get somebody to a hospital. The law is full of presumptions, and yes, judges do get involved in evaluating presumptions. So, this is a presumption that both parents are equal. There is a bill pending, but Mr. LaValle's not on it, to say both parents are presumed equal, and if there was going to be some allegation of non-equality, that one parent would be better with, let's say, medical or educational or any component or all, that parent would bear the burden of proof to prove that it would be in the best interest of the child for there to be something other than equality. The studies are overwhelming that when you have a situation of non-equality, the numbers for drug abuse, incarceration, domestic violence, every ill you can imagine increase dramatically. The single-parent household is the breeding ground for crime, drugs, and all the things Mr. LaValle is concerned about. So that's the facts.
Okay. Senator LaValle, you get to ask Mr. Fischer a question.
Mr. Fischer talked about a tunnel across Long Island Sound. If that were to be located, as there has been some discussion in Shoreham, what would your position be?
Tunnel technology has come a long way since the original proposals. Of course, I wouldn't be in favor of a bridge, and I'm very clear about suggesting a tunnel. Since the tunnel between France and England, we can virtually go down anywhere and come up anywhere. So I think we have a lot of flexibility as to where we would locate the entry to the tunnel. It could be near the expressway. It wouldn't have to disturb any shoreline communities at all. I know there's great resistance to that occurring.
Okay, and now we come to the closing statements, 2 minutes each, and we start with Mr. Fischer.
This is a marathon on this side of the microphone. So, I do respect Mr. LaValle for his achievements on environmental issues. He's done quite a bit to bring us where we are, to have a sensitivity to protecting our environment on Long Island. But now we have a real clear and present danger on economic issues. And we're on the right track with environmental issues. We're getting better, but the entire legislature is really missing talents necessary for economic turnaround. I don't believe the governor has these talents, and I can't find any other elected officials that have these talents. We have mostly attorneys in the legislature. So if you take the Senate, you have the same experience multiplied 60 times. Well, what kind of good is that? And I make a joke about it, and I say, well, if we had all plumbers in the Senate, probably we would have been required to have solid gold pipes. But, it's a special interest kind of thing. So I think it's time to get more business people in, people with long-term planning experience, to get away from this very short-term election cycle mentality. The Chinese plan on a 500-year philosophy, if you look at what they do. And of course, they don't have our freedoms, and they don't have our advantages of government. But we are in an economic war with the world. I also feel that there's been very little advocacy by any legislator in government, in New York State government, between the levels of government. I think there's been very little going to the federal government saying we need this, or working with the Congress people to, or state senators to do that. And I hate to say this because I'm generally not partisan. If you look me up, I've actually gone after Democrats and Republicans that have been outside the law. But I think having a blue senator in this district is very important to us getting the help we need in this district. We need that kind of access. So thank you very much.
Senator LaValle, your closing statement.
There is a group called NIPERC, and they have gotten into the business of rating members of the Senate, the 63 members of the state Senate. And I have, in the last 2 years, finished number one in the number of bills introduced, the number of bills passed the Senate, and the number of bills through both houses. 1, 2, or 3. 1, 2, or 3 in those categories. And it's been pretty much that way as you look at the record over the last 5 years. I like to think of myself as a leader, a person of great vision. Look at who was the sponsor of the Farmland Preservation Act? I was. Who was the sponsor of the Pine Barrens Preservation Act? I was. Who was the architect of the STAR program? I was. Who has been involved in building State University so that students have a quality educational option and at a much lower cost than if they went to private school? I've been a leader on the issue of preserving our water quality, because that's why, the help of my colleague Fred Thiel, we have on the ballot, you the people make a decision on using the Community Preservation Fund. And that has worked without fees or anything. It works because those people who are coming in to be our neighbors pay that tax and those fees. I would like to ask for your vote on November the 8th and thank the League and all of you who have attended.
Okay, let's give them all a round of applause. And I'd like to thank the audience for their attention and their very good questions, and Senator LaValle and Mr. Fisher, and I wish you both luck on Election Day, and everyone, and I'm sure this audience are all voters, but please get those people who you think might not be voting to go out and vote on November 8th. Thank you.
Well.